People are always saying, like, how can you vote for him because he's a billionaire? He's totally unrelatable. But from a moral perspective, he has no capability of judging you because he is every single vice that you could ever think of. And that's what Trump offers. Hey everyone, so it's the morning of November 6th, 2020, and it looks like Biden is on the verge of becoming our next president, which is good for Democrats. But what might be a little bit disheartening is that Trump actually received more votes than Obama did in 2008. Half of the country is wondering why the other half went crazy. And today I want to talk about what the appeal of Trump is. And this has taken me some reflection, listening to a lot of different views, because personally, I think Trump is not someone you aspire to be. It's not an example you want your kids to follow. But for a long time, it seemed like people liked him despite these flaws. And now I'm realizing that people actually like him because of these flaws. And I know some people are just going to vote Republican or they agree with conservative policy. And I'm not talking about those people. If you imagine America as one organism, as one person, right? Like we're all part of the human race. Let's imagine America as one person. Right now we have two opposing sides, blue and red. And what you can kind of imagine them as is blue is progress. Now, bear with me. I'm not trying to be offensive or anything. I'm just saying blue is this, it's about change. It's about we're not good enough. Whereas red, the red side of us represents more of our ego, the thing that accepts us for who we are, for all of our vices, for all of our imperfections. Trump is, and I'm paraphrasing from Sam Harris here, he's fat Jesus. He's just a terrible human being. But that terribleness, the dishonesty, the aggression, the rage, the arrogance, the narcissism, those are all things each of us deal with. And none of us is perfect. We are angry. We are too wrapped up in ourselves. We want to win. We don't want to be losers. That's something everybody can relate to. And I think a lot of Democrats, their messaging is that if you have any of these tendencies, you are a bad person. And what they fail to see is the aspects of that in themselves. And it comes back to just this overarching culture wars of the perception that blue states or Democrats are trying to wipe away the history. And when you wipe away the history and say everything we did in the past is bad, essentially you are saying that we are bad, that we as a people are bad. And all the mistakes we've made, there's no sense of forgiveness. There's no sense of you're okay. The left, all they have, at least from the right's perspective, is they want to shame you for being human. And Trump, even though he's a billionaire, people are always saying, like, how can you vote for him because he's a billionaire? He's totally unrelatable. But from a moral perspective, he is completely relatable because he has no capability of judging you because he is every single vice that you could ever think of. He has it in spades. So how can this person judge you? So when people are voting for him, they are voting for humanity and the animal side of humanity, not the side that wants to have social progress and all of that. I don't even think people on the right are against social progress. They're just against being made to feel like shit, which is what the left is doing. There's a sense of moral superiority, almost like a monopoly on what's right. And that's what the left, if they ever want to get the moderate support or more people on the right support, they need to stop the judgment. And I don't think that we can really move forward as a country if the left doesn't see that. The right also has a lot of issues, but just from my perspective, a lot of my friends are more left leaning, and socially I agree with more of the policies on the left, and I'm trying to find a way to bridge these two very far apart mindsets, because if the left continues to view the right as monsters and they don't understand why, then this is just going to keep happening and the divide is going to grow deeper and deeper and deeper. We have to at least try to understand each other in order to move forward at all. So, and I'm going to come back to this one person analogy. In order for us, one person, America, we're this person called America, to move forward, to truly start accomplishing all of the things we aspire to be, all of the great ideas that I think the left has, better social justice, economic equality, wanting to help each other. Those are all good things. But I don't think the way forward is to demonize our past. Because if you think of America as one person, imagine you are a 30 or 40-year-old man and you look at your 20s and 30s and you lied, you cheated, you stole, you were too arrogant, you were angry all the time, you wasted a lot of time, sloth. Imagine all the sins. We've all committed all of them. For sure, 100%, we've all committed every single sin or bad behavior you can think of because we're human. In order to become a better person, do you look at your old self and say, you're a shit human being and I reject you. I reject you completely for everything that you were. How is that supposed to help you grow? That's such a toxic mentality. You look at your past, you look at the mistakes you made, and you accept it. Once you can accept it and forgive yourself, that's the only way you can really change and move forward. You can't live hating on yourself. Like, that's the irony of it all, is people on the left will preach self-love and like loving thy neighbor, but what they represent for people on the right is just self-hatred. And especially for the straight white cis males, it's just like, you are not good enough. Not only are you responsible for every mistake you've made and you should feel bad about it, you should feel bad about all of your previous generation's mistakes as well. And again, I'm not disparaging the idea of privilege or, the life is incredibly unfair. I think that's all true. I just want to find a way for us to understand each other and what's the best way to move forward. And I don't think this feeling of judgment from the left is the way to move forward. And that is the problem I see, and why America will continue to be divided unless we could kind of reframe this, that we're not that different. We can't possibly be, because we are all of the human race. So we have two hands, we have a head, we have a heart, we have lungs. All we want to do is to live our lives in peace, be with our families, be happy, have meaning in our lives. Those are things we absolutely share. But there's a perception that we're just two different factions. Right now, people hate each other within America more than they hate foreign powers. And I feel that. I don't think it's ever been like that in the history of America. But we're not so much afraid of Russians. We're not so much afraid of Chinese. We're afraid of Republicans, or we're afraid of the crooked Democrats. And that's just, it's so dumb. We're one and the same person. One is our ego, is who we are, and one is who we aspire to be. And we need to accept both aspects of ourselves to become enlightened, to become the next step of humanity. Because honestly, 100, 200 years from now, we're going to look back on everybody that exists right now, and we are going to be monsters. 100%. The fact that we can look back 50 years from before and look at those people and say like, man, they're thinking so backward, that represents progress. But we can't judge them by what we know now. Because again, like I'm saying, even if you're the most progressive person today, there's going to be things 100 years from now, you'll look on today's most progressive person and he will be a monster. The fact that he hated on his own man this much, that is a sign of somebody that is not enlightened, that is still filled with rage, and that person will be judged too by a totally different standard. That's the dream, that 100 years from now, we'll look back on everybody that lived today and say like, oh, these people, they were so behind, because that means there was progress. But anyways, I know that was kind of ranty, but this is just my thoughts on this whole situation right now. And I highly recommend people to just take a breath, stop watching the news, meditate, or read a book. It'll be okay if people just stop talking so much and really looked inward to deal with their own issues. And that will emanate outwards, and hopefully someday we can have a more peaceful, less stressful political situation. This is Green Knight Trading, where Squires become knights. Thank you all so much for watching. Please take care. Don't forget to breathe, and I'll see you soon.